Yeah, I'm sure they did. Yeah, I mean, it's a money making opportunity. Yeah,
Those Canadians are they're very honest. Yeah. Well, I guess my other question for you, I'm going to ask you that question.
mm,
Like, so we were talking about reading earlier.
mm,
What do you think? I was reading some things about once you kind of end up in a reading rut, where it's like, man, I miss reading, whatever.
yeah.
What kind of book or what kind of reading experience do you think would get you like hooked back on reading again?
It had to be from like some of the science based. Actually, I read that book Homo sapiens. That was a good one.
Mm.
Uh, I read a book called Disruptor's Dilemma. Um, I'm a big autograph. I love stuff like Teddy Roosevelt's autobiography.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can tell you right. So like, I'm such a right. Yeah.
I heard for people like us, Kim Stanley Robinson's Mars series.
Hmm.
It's kind of like a speculative fiction
Yeah,
one.
it had to be definitely something like that. Something
Yeah.
speculative, something like like make your brain think.
Yeah, I'm reading right now from him The Ministry for the Future, which was on like Obama's list of favorite books and
Mm.
everything, and it's really something. It opens with a mass casualty climate event
Oh shit.
and in India, and just even that phrase, mass casualty climate event,
Yeah.
right? That spooked me because that's what makes this stuff so speculative fiction. It's in the not so near future where the stuff around climate and readiness, there starts to be kind of these like political action or
Mm.
kind of like a what Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson might call like a attention focusing
Mm.
event, right? There's people who talk about, but there's an attention focusing
Mm.
event, like we got to do something. And what ends up happening is that the whole thing of like, oh, the UN, the climate, like all these different things, they're just like, guys, whether like this is really happening and this is like really affecting people, like we have to take action whether you guys believe in it or not, or just because it hasn't come for you yet,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And so it kind of explores this world where like the people who really are most impacted start taking action and other people kind of get complacent, and you kind of see how those dynamics play out. So that's where I'm at in it so far. It's really
Is it?
interesting.
So are there any books you read that you wish would become a movie?
I rarely wish that on the books I love. It seems such a that's the thing because you never know.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I'll say is The Sympathizer. It's definitely one of my favorite books, modern fiction books. It picks up where like at the fall of Saigon and like a lot of Vietnam stories. And I love that HBO. So I used to say, gosh, I want it as a movie, but I don't think they do a good job as a movie.
Yeah.
HBO picked it up as a limited series and they did a great job.
Okay.
The thing is that All the Light You Cannot See, that one they made a movie and it was kind of hit or miss. So now I'm kind of like, now that said, oh my gosh, what was the name of that movie where they made like a movie about the writing of Isabel Wilkinson's book Cast? It was like a movie about writing that book.
Mm.
I do think that there are some nonfiction books that I would love to see get that kind of treatment, kind of like this is how they tell me the world ends thing. Like I would love to see more nonfiction books like that get kind of like a narrative documentary
Yeah.
treatment. I feel like that would be a much more compelling way to educate people on stuff like around like cyber warfare and cybersecurity that doesn't feel like so dystopian, but also like has like that human element to it, because that's really what at least to me, like that's really what's sticking with me is that like we talk about like these techs and cybersecurity and warfare and all of that, but you're talking to the petrol station owner in the Ukraine, that's who she's talking to in this book, and it's like, man, I would love to see that depicted.
Yeah. So another thing I'm doing too, like, so I'm going back to Vietnam in September for like the third time, right? So I'm trying to set up something where I have like non-tech founders in the States linked in with like tech people in Vietnam. Because, for example, like a developer is $100,000. Vietnam is like $30,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I made a lot of connections doing that. And the reverse side, I want to help companies in Vietnam go to market here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to do that. So I actually had a meeting a week ago with the consul general from Vietnam. He's the guy who's in charge of all the export from Vietnam here in the United States.
Is that why you stood me up?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's why I stood you up.
That was
Yeah.
a good reason though.
Yeah.
I was legit.
Yeah, so I have his personal cell number. He told me like, hey, whatever you need, let me know. So I'm trying to figure all that stuff out, right?
Yeah, I was I'm really glad to hear that. I was talking to some folks who were thinking about some of the stuff. They call it super teams in blockchain. Like Solana has super teams globally and all that. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, because, I'm a models and monetization nerd. I was thinking about that super team model, not like as outsourcing. Because you know what? You hear that and you're like, what's the difference between a super team and an outsourced team, right? And there are some clear characteristics for that. But I'm glad to hear you say that, because I do think that like people, I do think kind of like the next gen of outsourcing is that super team model. Because it's not enough just to outsource.
That's what I'm trying to do,
Yeah, it's a two-way street. And also, I feel like outsourcing, it assumes like you're just looking for lower costs abroad, when in reality, like maybe you're not just looking for lower cost, you're looking for a new global market.
Yeah. And people don't realize how advanced tech-wise Vietnam is, right? They're doing some amazing things. Like, it's just insanity over there.
One thing, so when I was at Columbia, for grad school, I didn't get an MBA. I got a Master's of Science in Information Knowledge Strategy. And in the School of Professional Studies, you can get an elective, you can do electives in applied analytics. And so I did my applied analytics one, and you're supposed to take these data sets and like basically like have a hypothesis, prove or disprove it with the data, et cetera, et cetera. And I picked one around like this idea that the growth of the BRIC countries or developing countries was proof that America was in decline, or that the growing economies of other countries was like somehow damaging to the U.S. So I was able with data to definitively debunk that, maybe just for my own sanity's sake. But if I had to do that project all over again, what I would really be interested in looking at is the data around innovation, patents, investment, and growth around demographics and age. Because Vietnam has a very young...
Yeah, half the people, 75% of people are like 30 and below.
Yes. And so when you say like that tech and all that is really like traction and it's advanced, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, so I was there for 3 months. I actually did 18 podcasts over there. 18 in-person podcasts, right? So I had one guy, Chris Tran. He actually graduated from college at SMU. He's from Singapore, graduated from college at SMU, but he lives there now. He's like the #1 crypto NFT guy there. Another guy I interviewed with Raphael Masters. So his company, like, he does like robotic arms for amputees, but his master plan is like fucking crazy as fuck. It's like his scene is a future. Of course, he's like, he's got to figure out how to do data, help data, or whatever. But here's a future where like anyone just like take the arm off and put a robotic arm on, like. Hey, like I'm gonna go do whatever, right? I need like robotic arms, like this, like changing tires, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine like changing your limbs like tires, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're doing some crazy shit over there.
Well, here I have another question for you, because you can help me with this, because this is a question I get and I think about a lot. Whether it's quantum, what you just said about like those robotic hands, here in the U.S., a lot of people, they're convinced that stuff doesn't exist. Like I said, on the basis of a Google search, a article, hearsay, whatever. I know it exists. But people here, we kind of do the shadow side of the First Amendment is people kind of choose their own adventure and their own reality. Do you, like, how do you communicate with folks? How do you communicate? Basically, how do you break the news to them that the thing that they are so convinced doesn't exist, doesn't matter, etc. when it comes to this emerging tech stuff? Like, how do you break the news to them?
I mean, sometimes is it worth the brain muscle and the bandwidth to educate them, right?
And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I say more about that.
I mean, sometimes you have to make a case by case scenario. Like some people are so anti-tech, anti-whatever. This isn't happening right. My Facebook group says this and that. I did my research. Nothing you tell them. You might show them a video. It's right here. Oh, that's AI did that. AI did that. I mean, some people just gotta make a judgment. Okay, is it worth your mental capacity to try to convince them this stuff is happening?
And I'm wondering. I do wonder about that a lot. Like I said earlier about the coalition of the willing, and it's hard. You can't really educate someone who wants a debate. But objective things like this exists is not really a debate.
Yeah.
Like in good faith, it's not really a debate. That's just somebody like kind of resisting breaking news.
Or like someone says, that's your opinion. No, that's not opinion. That's fact.
That's like, no, that's actually a product that you can go and
yeah.
That's not my opinion. That's a product, right? And that's kind of where I'm at with a lot of this stuff. I will say, going back to this incumbency and generational divide, I was telling Johnny the other day that I get a sense that people want us to have a bigger chip on our shoulder. What I mean by that is like, they want us to play David to their Goliath.
Yeah.
And they want us to be like, convince us this quantum thing is real. Convince us it's more than a chip. Convince us, prove to us, win us over, and all this other stuff. But progress doesn't ask for anybody's permission.
No.
And it's kind of like you said, like, is that really the best use of our time and energy, or should we kind of just stick with the coalition of the willing, or should we stick with the curious? And it's like, I tend to lean more to those folks because I don't really like being in a defensive reactionary position unnecessarily, but I know some people really want that fight.
Yeah, I think about Vietnam too. It's so tech advanced, so entrepreneurial. Like, people have no idea, right?
Yeah.
And what's this crazy? Like, it kind of blew me away. They love Americans, like, and I would never expect that, right? Like, they love Americans.
Yeah, I mean, I never got to go to Vietnam, but I went to Hong Kong, and that was the place that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Not sure about. I didn't hear a lot of American love. In fact, I heard somebody tell me I should move there. They're like, it's not safe for you in America. You need to come here. And I can't, statistically, in a data-driven way, they're not wrong.
No.
They're not wrong. But yeah, I think another thing I hear people say a lot is, oh, well, if any country has anything more advanced than us because they stole it. And I'm like, how did they steal something we don't even have?
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm like, walk me through that. How do you steal something? They're like, well, the blueprints to what they have. And I'm like...
Yeah, I don't know. It's a different world over there. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's I don't. Yeah, this in going back to this generational divide, I am noticing it's a generational divide because there is kind of a level of American exceptionalism of a certain generation. And I don't have to tell you this; you're a veteran.
Yeah.
But they can't really make room for a narrative of any country more advanced than us or any country doing better than us. And I think from a generational perspective, or even like people who are a bit more traveled, that's kind of, that's not really on the table for folks like us who like going abroad, and we like to see humanity, right? Like I mean, for me, my best friend growing up was Vietnamese. And I learned so much. I feel like I learned more about the American dream from her family than anything else. It's true. Like her dad was, back in Vietnam, he had a machete and bamboo and all of that. And he gets to America, and he gets power tools. He's unstoppable. Yeah. He was building out before they opened the nail salon. He built out the chairs for the pedicure stations.
Yeah, one thing with Vietnam, there's no OSHA in Vietnam. There's no safety, There's no. I'll see some pictures after this. There's no OSHA, no videos. I'll show pictures like people power tools and the flip flops, like,
and cigarettes.
Or like I see like people like power tools on, throwing up the bamboo things, and people catching like, what the world? Yeah.
Or like the bungees, like the makeshift bungees for going up and down. Oh yeah, I remember even when I was in Bali, man. Those motorbikes in Bali.
Oh yeah, you haven't lived until you've been on a motorbike in Ho Chi Minh City.
I was just like, I remember holding on for dear life my first motorbike ride in Bali, and I was like, Anthony Bourdain would be so proud of me right now.
So I'll tell you one thing I think is really gangster. So in Vietnam, like, you ride back on motorbikes, you see females, like you used to have like you're behind someone with two legs with the left hand. These females that have the legs on the one side.
Their side saddle.
Taking selfies, doing makeup, nothing holding on. The bike's like, man, that's gangster right there.